From the most trusted names in local news, KDPG Sunday Edition.
Good morning. Welcome to the KDPG Sunday Edition. I'm Rick Dayton. The Prime Minister of the Bahamas calls it generational devastation. Hurricane Dorian pushing Grand Bahama and the Abacos Islands with heavy rain. There was a powerful storm surge, and then, of course, there was a tornado-like wind gust, at times 220 miles per hour. Relief workers there expect the death toll to rise in the coming days and weeks as they continue to assess the widespread damage. People who survived are in desperate need, and one of the groups that routinely responds to situations like it is based here in Pittsburgh. Brothers Brother Foundation providing aid to 149 countries. It supplies medical items and humanitarian equipment all around the world. And we are fortunate this morning to be joined in the KDPG Sunday Edition by Ozzie Samad, President of Brothers Brother Foundation, and Sarah Bohl, who is the Assistant Vice President for Disaster Response and Strategic Initiatives. Also joined this morning by Jerry Micko, Senior Assistant Managing Editor for the Post-Gazette. Good morning, Jerry.
Morning.
And good morning to both of you. Thanks for being here from Brothers Brother. Sarah, we'll begin with you. When the word starts to come out on a hurricane in the Atlantic, nobody knows where it's going. Nobody knows if it's going to hit land, if there's going to be damage. At what point does Brothers Brother start to ramp up and say, okay, we think we're going to need to go somewhere?
So we're actually looking at it probably before you are covering it. We watch all through hurricane season. We monitor the National Hurricane Center and are watching just like the meteorologists are to make sure that we know what's coming. And as soon as we start to have some kind of a path as to where that storm is headed, then we're starting to talk to our partners and figure out exactly what's going to be available and what's going to be needed wherever that storm may hit. Some areas are much better prepared for these kind of situations than other areas are.
So when you say partners, are you talking about domestic partners who are providing supplies and relief efforts, or the people on the ground who may be in harm's way?
Both. So we have a really strong network of partners here who will donate things for us or who we work with continuously to make sure that we have supplies on hand before a situation hits. And then we also have a strong group and network of individuals and organizations that provide response to these kinds of situations, whether it is here on the continental U.S. or when we're looking at things like Puerto Rico or the Bahamas or other situations around the globe. We also have a strong international network of other aid organizations that we work with to really provide the best coverage possible.
Disasters happen, unfortunately, everywhere, and it seems all the time. Tornadoes, hurricanes, earthquakes, you name it. How do you actually decide, and Ozzie, I'll ask you, how do you actually decide we need to be here, we need to be there? You don't want to spread too thin, right?
Right. First of all, thank you so much to both of you for having us. What we have done recently is actually formalize a disaster response process where we have a process where Sarah is actually running it. It's called E4. And essentially, we go through a matrix to see whether it makes sense for us to respond, whether we're able to respond efficiently, and if it's something that we can respond to.
The reason I asked that question is because you're talking about, Sarah, you were talking about getting supplies and having, and you're getting donations and things like that. It comes a time when you want to be everywhere, but you can only be so many places, and that has got to be a tough decision.
It is a really tough decision. There are always more needs than there are available resources. But with our system that we go through, we look at a variety of factors, including how many other organizations are responding. If there's more response, then there's going to be need for that situation. How feasible it is for us to get there, whether our expertise is the best option for the affected area and the specific type of situation.
Does it change in a situation like this where there are going to be multiple places in need, meaning the Bahamas devastated by the storm, but we're also starting to see what's happened with some subsidence in, say, Florida, Georgia, South Carolina, North Carolina, on to Virginia, et cetera. I mean, so you've got a very, very large area of coverage in this. How do you then balance out the domestic need, and is it different than the international need?
Absolutely. So our domestic need will be working with a different set of partners to respond than we will aid partners that on the actual implementation side than we will on the international side. And also, typically here in the United States, we're much more resilient. We can bounce back a lot faster. And so we'll be looking at more immediate need, it's like water and food and tarps right here in the United States. And so we have a strong network that will get those things. We actually pre-stage those things with a partner in Virginia so that they're already halfway there from Pittsburgh. And so they'll be getting those items out in the next few days in the Carolinas and possibly in Georgia, wherever they're needed along the coast, which can leave our team here in Pittsburgh's time to focus more on the Bahamas and that international need. Unfortunately, there will not be as many people who are able to do a long-term response in the Bahamas. It's a little bit trickier to work there, and we're looking at more of the international aid community there, and we're really going to have to invest for some long-term repairs and recovery for those communities because they just did not have the same building codes or the same standards or the same access to resources that so many Americans do.
How do you work with, you talk about partners, but how do you work, say, with FEMA when they're in Florida or South Carolina or Georgia, or wherever they come in? Are you working with them from the beginning, with government organizations like that?
So we're a VOAD, which is a voluntary organization that's active in disasters, which is a network of organizations, of nonprofits all across the country that can coordinate and get resources. And so FEMA will say, here are the needs we're seeing. They'll do needs assessments, and there are actually a few VOADs who are certified to do those assessments. And then they'll divvy up the work so that no one is being duplicated here. So an agency like FEMA coordinates with the larger body, and we all coordinate. VOAD nationally is a coordination thing, and then we can coordinate the work that needs to be dispersed across the areas.
Because you brought up something, two people doing the same thing. You don't want overlap. You want to make sure you're working with that. So FEMA actually works with you, with your organizations, to I guess you guys kind of are the big push. You're bringing in people, you're bringing in supplies and things like that, and they're more or less coordinating with you?
Generally speaking, quite often we're actually following them in the sense of the recovery effort and so on. So there's some work that we do right up front. So, I mean, we're not directly working with FEMA as such, but they'll go in initially, assess the situation, and then we will actually work right behind them, so to speak, and work on the recovery effort subsequently. So it goes hand in hand, but I wouldn't say we necessarily go in at the same time as them as such.
We keep hearing the term supplies and things like that. Many times it's medicine. Many times it is medical supplies that have to go as well. How are you dealing and assessing with what is needed? I mean, you may be dealing with tetanus. You may be dealing with those sorts of, booster shots and things like that. But how do you know what's needed? Is that just an assessment that you get from the early response from people who are on the ground there?
In this case, in the case of the Bahamas in particular, we're actually getting reports from the Ministry of Health, for instance, and they have given us lists of the specific medicines that they need and also medical equipment and supplies. And Sarah can elaborate on that more, but essentially what we're doing is evaluating what has been provided to them right off the bat and what they will be needing subsequently. So we're in that assessment phase right now.
The video is staggering. I mean, you look at the pictures on your screen right now, and you talked about building codes and how they're very different from what the requirements are here in the States, but you see people picking through that, and it says exactly why. With thousands of people missing in the early days, they are expecting the death toll to soar as time goes on. And Sarah, when you see these pictures, how do you emotionally deal with these sorts of disasters day in, day out, realizing the devastation that has happened to some gorgeous parts of the world and beautiful people?
It is really heartbreaking to look at these images and to kind of try to process through, but you have to kind of set that aside and understand that you can't get caught up in watching this all the time, or you're not going to be able to do the best job you can to help those people for the long run. And so to really kind of say, okay, this is terrible, but there's a lot of good that can be done here, and we can make a lot of progress really quickly. The people of the Bahamas have really great spirits, and they're looking at building stronger communities running forward, and they've really, we're getting some great reports from people helping each other on the ground and some things that are coming out, and they've actually already got the clinic on Abaco back up to a semi-functional level. I saw a report this morning from one of our partners that they were able to get in, and they've got some generators going, and they're providing medical care already. So that's one of the first thing. They always say in disaster response that as soon as you can get the major chain stores back open, you know that people are going to be okay. And hospitals and those kinds of pieces of infrastructure go right hand in hand with that.
Army Corps of Engineers here in Pittsburgh does a lot of that as far as getting generators on the ground to those areas. Ozzie, as we turn our attention to development and raising funds, because I'm sure there is a huge need for dollars in order to make these donations, where do you get that? Where does that come from? Is that private community? Is that the corporate community? Is that the fellowships and the endowments and things like that that are here in Pittsburgh, or is it a much larger net than that you cast?
Well, to be quite honest, Rick, the people of Pittsburgh have really opened their hearts and wallets after the hurricane, especially in 2017. And we have received such an enormous outpouring of support from across the board, everybody that you mentioned. We've worked with local hospitals, corporations, you name it. But essentially, when we make an appeal, the individuals really step forward. I'll give you a little anecdote. There's an organization we worked with in Puerto Rico after the hurricanes. On Monday, I got a phone call from the lady who runs it, and she said, "Oh, I'm so sorry for calling you on a holiday," and so on. But we as Puerto Ricans are collecting supplies and equipment, and we want to help the people in the Bahamas. We were helped after the hurricanes, and we want to make sure that we help them now. So we're actually making arrangements. So it's across the board. And essentially, you were asking earlier, how do you get past the human tragedy aspect of it? There was a story I heard yesterday about a father who had his 5-year-old on his back, managed to save him from one storm surge, another storm surge, and finally he lost the child. He couldn't hold on to him. And those kind of stories really come back and make us even more determined to go back and try to help as much as possible. But basically, as you asked, it's across the board, and all the donations are greatly appreciated. You can make them on our website. Just
remarkable work being done by Brothers Brother, based right here in Pittsburgh, and we have much more to come. Ozzie, Sarah, thank you very much for being here as we continue on the KDPG Sunday edition, taking a look at a business that was the lifeblood of Pittsburgh in manufacturing. Today we meet two people who are helping Pittsburgh become a hub for manufacturing as we are into the 21st century. Please keep it here on the KDPG Sunday edition.